Hello friends, I am the Anti-Terrorist. Thank you once again for your messages and your emails of support and for being part of the conversation. Now I do have a number of concerns about how the information I give you in this broadcast is going to be used. I don't want to enable criminals in our society to thwart justice, but I'm committed to protecting the innocents from what appears to be an explosion of police abuse. And in a case like this, I choose to protect the people. Now, I want to make it perfectly clear I'm not giving legal advice. I'm not a lawyer. So saying the anti-terrorist told me to do it isn't going to cut you any slack with the police. But I can give you my personal opinion. And I could say what I would do, or what other people have done in the past. If more people were to understand and exercise their rights at the appropriate times, we'd be a whole lot more successful at reining in the tyranny that we're all complaining about right now. Knowing your rights. Knowing what to say and who to say it to, and what not to say and who not to say it to. You see, the police use tactics. They capitalize on the fact that very few of us know our rights, because we were never taught them in the public indoctrination school system. Anything you know about your rights you either read in the papers, or you heard from friends or your uncle or your parents, but you certainly weren't told about your rights in school. Generally speaking, the average person in this country and in the United States is a constitutional illiterate, who has no idea what his or her rights are. But they're constantly complaining about losing their rights. Your rights are lost not because someone took them from you, but because you're unable to claim them. You don't know what the right is, and you don't know how to claim it. The police now are trained to get the evidence from you. Not by force, although that happens from time to time, but rather to do it subtly, to trick you. They cunningly coerce you into waiving your rights because of your ignorance. Don't blame the policeman for violating your rights. At some point in time, you've got to say, hey, Mr. Policeman, you're violating my rights. It's up to you to tell him. It's an adversarial position. The policeman against you. He's not your friend. If you think the policeman's your friend, you got your head up your backside. Now, let's be clear. Adversary does not necessarily mean enemy. I'm talking about an adversary in the sense of playing chess with someone. Someone who wants to win a situation, as opposed to someone who wants to do you harm. They need to win to get their detection rate up. Especially in the British police, it's all based on detections, how many detections they get in a particular day. So they're not your enemy, they are your adversary. It's not supposed to be that way, and it wasn't always that way. Back in the day, the policeman was our friend in a judicial system, a justice system. Today, we have a monetary system, not a judicial system, it's money. It's an adversarial system, and the policeman's job is to get the goods on you and convict you so that we can fine you and make money. He's a revenue agent. Nothing more, nothing less. He's there to protect the claims window of the insurance industry. That's why he insists that you wear your seatbelt and you have it fastened. Whether or not you wear a seatbelt doesn't make a rat's backside difference to me or you or anyone else, but it does to the insurance industry. And the policeman is out there to protect the insurance industry. He's not there to protect you. He doesn't care whether you wear your seatbelt or not. Now, if you're a policeman, you know you're a revenue agent. That's your job. Generate revenue. And you also know that if you don't generate revenue over there, your boss is going to be asking you about that. The average number of tickets we write in this department is 2 a shift, and you're only writing 1.7, John. Now what the hell's going on here? Tom over there, he's averaging 3 tickets per shift. And the police, they vehemently deny it, that they've got a quota system. Excuse me, Mr. Officer. Let's be intelligent people over here. Mr. Policeman, try writing no tickets whatsoever for 30 days and see what happens to your job. For the next 30 days, every time you catch someone speeding, give them a warning. Instead of giving this guy a ticket for drunk driving, give him a ride home. Try that for 30 days and find out what happens to your job. Then tell me there's no quota system, officer. See, the biggest complaint that we should have, and the complaint that the police actually do make themselves because they understand what's going on, is that they're being used as revenue collection agents instead of doing their job and protecting us from the bad guys of this world. They're out there to collect money. They know it, and they don't particularly like it very much. As I said in my last police video, they're mostly good people, and they do understand what's going on. See, we all pay our taxes, and the taxes are used to support the police department. And we should not be depending on $5 million in fines here and there to balance out the city or county budget. And if we'd stop doing that, we'd find the police being more helpful and less adversarial. See, with this adversarial monetary system, the police haven't got time to deal with murderers, thieves, and rapists, because they're too busy dealing with seatbelts and traffic signs and driver's licenses, registration, and whether or not you got your proof of insurance. The victimless crimes that don't amount to anything in the world whatsoever. Don't have anything to do at all with protecting the health, safety, and welfare of the public. Now today, this is big business. And parking tickets and speeding tickets and police on the roads and enforcing the traffic laws. In some communities, it's the difference between bankruptcy and solvency. See, what we have here is a public that's irresponsible and a police force that's almost equally irresponsible. Dedicated, sincere, but definitely irresponsible. So how much does your government know about you, and how much do you want your government to know about you? The government doesn't have some agent walking around with a clipboard, following you around, taking down all the information about you. They don't do that. No one knows anything about you that you yourself haven't revealed by your own mouth or your own hand. All of the evidence that's ever going to be used against you will be furnished by you. Government seems to know just about everything about you. They want to know more. They want to go through your luggage. They want to go through your pockets. They want you to take your shoes off at the airport. These are called security steps to make you safe. And if you want to exercise your rights, then you have to keep your mouth shut. That's it. There's a golden rule when dealing with the police. Keep your mouth shut, don't say anything, and shut up. If you say nothing, nothing will be used against you. If you say something, something will be used against you. If you say a lot will be used against you. The more you talk, the more they have to use against you. And they tell you that very plainly. I mean, you have to be seriously mentally retarded to sit there and talk to a guy who says to you, he looks you right in the eyeballs and says, you have a right to remain silent, and anything you say will be taken down and used in evidence against you. Now, where were you going? Where are you coming from? What's your name, address, and telephone number, social security number? Are you married? How many kids have you got? When do you have sex with your wife? You've got to be absolutely crazy to answer any questions for a guy who tells you anything you say can and will be used in evidence against you in a court of law. But we just go right ahead and try and talk our way out of it. And all we're doing is digging a hole for ourselves that we can never get out of. Now, do you have to talk? Do you have to answer questions for anyone, whether they be a government official or just an ordinary guy in the street? You see, it may well be that the police are required by law to ask you certain questions. Now, the reverse question is, are you required by law to answer any of those questions? And the answer is no. See, most people will answer every question that you ask them. When you are talking to a police officer, and they ask you questions, you answer them all. And the reason you answer them all is because you believe that you have to. You believe that there's nothing wrong with answering the question, and if I don't, they might arrest me. Most people think that they have some legal responsibility to talk to the police, but they don't. None. Zero. As a general rule, if you're here to ask me questions, Mr. Police Officer, the answer is I'm not telling you a damn thing. If you're coming here to ask me questions about somebody else, I don't have any problems with that. Answering questions about somebody else. If you want to ask me about the mafia guy down the road, or you want to ask me what I saw when the red car hit the yellow car, I can be a helpful witness if that's what you want. But when you start asking me questions like what's your name, what's your birth date, where do you live, you're starting to get into an area that's actually none of your business, and I'm not telling. And I don't have to. If you're being detained by them and they're just chatting away to you and they're saying, oh, isn't it a lovely day today? You don't have to answer that question. If they say, well, the weather's pretty bad today, isn't it? You don't have to answer that question either. Where are you going? You don't have to answer that question. Where have you been? None of his business whatsoever. Now, I don't think I'd be rude to him. I don't think I'd say you're an ugly SOB and I'm not answering any of your questions. That would be impolite. I could, because that would be free speech, but I wouldn't do that. I often hear the argument, if you don't have anything to hide, why don't you answer their questions? See, your teacher taught you in school when you were a kid. If you've nothing to hide, you should answer the questions. And by the same token, when the police officer asks you a question and you refuse to answer, his immediate response from his own training is, wow, this guy's got something to hide. I better dig deeper. See, people often ask me, well, what is it that you're hiding? And I often say, well, if I told you what it was I was hiding, it would no longer be hidden, would it? If I told you what it was that I was hiding, it would no longer be hidden, would it? So I'm not telling you what it is I'm hiding. As it happens, I'm hiding my privacy. You see, privacy is only important to people who value their privacy. Nobody seems to make the statement, well, if I don't answer the question, it's probably because it's none of your damn business.